Welcome back to another episode of Conversations Over Art. Today's conversation is taking place at the Gallery Guichard, which is in Chicago, located in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Today's guests are Francis and Andre Guichard, and we're excited to have them on board.
Their art pieces have been around for years. I've known Andre for a number of years, and always amazed me how he's been able to captivate art and keep it in the community.
I am Bernadine Thomas, your host.
And I am Charles Thomas.
Today we are at Gallery Guichard.
And we're talking with curators, Andre Guichard and his wife, Francis.
Today we will learn more about the history of Gallery Guichard
And some of the events to come this summer.
So stay tuned for the next episode of Conversations Over Art. So today's show, Conversations Over Art, is in the Bronzeville area, which is in Chicago, and we are privileged to have Francis and Andre Guichard with us at the Gallery Guichard. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So we know you guys have something really exciting that's coming up real soon.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we're very excited to be celebrating 19 years in business, 19 years as a couple,
Oh, wow.
working together
Congratulations.
and continuing the legacy of art. And this year is our 18th year of our art crawl in
Mhm.
Bronzeville, the 2024 Bronzeville Art District third Friday trolley tour, even though we do have double-decker buses that
Okay.
take you to 5 galleries in the neighborhood. The bus stops for 5 minutes, you jump on and off, and it's an amazing opportunity to see what's happening in terms of culture. 5 Black institutions that actually have new exhibits every month, so you
Wow.
have
Mhm.
the opportunity to actually expose yourself to a large number of fingerprints of different living artists in our community.
That's amazing.
That's
Yes.
important.
And this year we're sponsored by the city of Chicago.
Wow.
Yes, so they're going to help us they're helping us with our music and
Mhm.
entertainment. So we're going to have live music entertainment at the gallery, and it's just going to be a blast.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So
Andre, I've known you for a few years now.
Yes.
We've traveled in the same circle as artists, but I've always wondered, I've always admired your pieces, but can you tell us a little bit how you got into it, how you got started?
It's a good question. You know, this journey started more as happenstance.
Mhm.
It originally started as a need to want art in my home because I grew up in a house with an artist. My dad was a painter and sculptor, so I grew up with the effects of living with original art. So after graduating from college with actually a degree in economics, I was in corporate America and trying to decorate my home as a 21-year-old. And after I leaned on my dad and my family for some of his art, I knew I was creative. So I started painting, and then people started buying art off my walls. So I said, you know, maybe there's something to this. And it was about an 8-year journey of getting off work at 6 o'clock, staying up to midnight or 2 a.m., finding my own fingerprint, and then I became the organizer of pop-up exhibits for a lot of my artist friends. And then that evolved to curator positions with a gallery next door to Desjoies in Randolph, and then that led to a curator position at the South Shore Cultural Center Fine Art Gallery, and that was a 6-year run that actually was the seed to Gallery Guichard.
That's amazing.
and you yourself are an artist.
I am an
And
artist.
could tell us a little bit about
Thank
that,
you.
like your inspiration and things.
So 30 years now as a professional studio artist, and my inspiration was actually my dad, growing up with my dad. And after that, it was a collective of artists that inspired me, that I saw and emulated from afar, and my own not being trained as an artist classically, just having the ability to believe in putting your ideas into reality. And I think that has been the blessing. Plus, what happens when you do that from a mental standpoint for yourself but also the end user actually gets the same effect. And living with art is part of what my initial motivation was, that effect you get around living with original art.
And Francis, you as well as an artist, as
I
right?
am.
Okay.
I've been an artist for the past 20 years.
Oh, okay.
I actually learned the business of art and became an artist through a very amazing mentor, my husband Andre.
Okay, I was gonna ask how where the connection came, how you guys met. Yeah.
And I actually was not an artist before we met.
Oh wow.
No. I actually was very creative. I grew up in an area. I grew up in Chatham, and there was an art gallery right behind me. So I would visit the art gallery on a regular basis. And then my mom, she traveled all the time. She went to the Louvre, and we used to travel to homes, and when we were visiting our family, and just look at new homes and artwork within the homes, and go to antique stores.
Yeah.
So I actually loved art, and so when I met Andre, it was an opportunity for me to really just love not only him but what he was doing and be a part of it as well. So I would dabble in the studio and mess around, as Andre says, in his expensive paints and make artwork, and then he would say, nah, too flat, go back and do this, go back and do that. And so I kept studying, and then we went to the New York Black Fine Arts Show. I would intentionally look and study the art that people had at the New York Black Fine Arts Show. And eventually I got to a place where I started creating work, and we would take it to Florida, and people would buy it. And so I was like, wow. Oh, let me go back. The very first piece I sold was at Andre's studio. They were doing an art auction. And I had just finished a piece, and Andre was like, oh, let's put a wash over it. And, we both signed it, and then we put it into the auction, and it sold. People were like clamoring over
That's
it.
amazing.
So I'm like, that was my inspiration to keep going.
Yeah.
And then when we went to South Africa, I was able to see the amazing landscape.
Yeah.
And so that became my signature. Landscapes with the sun and water and people migrating, moving about. So when you look at my work, you'll see a lot of people gathering, and it's just like the migration. But the day changes all the time, so you'll always get a different piece. It'll never be the same.
Wow.
That's
wow,
amazing.
that's a great story. I love that story.
Now,
That's
you
awesome.
guys do a lot of traveling.
We do.
Do you see different cultures, or is art treated any differently in different countries?
That is a very good question. We travel annually to the continent to enhance our product offering, because we have a niche of art of the African diaspora. So every year we have what we call a buyer's mission. We do a cultural exchange. We've been to the continent 10 times now, South Africa twice, Egypt twice, Seychelles, Dakar, Senegal, Ethiopia. I know I missed. What am I missing?
You said Seychelles, Ethiopia, Dakar, Senegal,
Zanzibar.
Lagos,
Yes.
Egypt.
Wow.
So in those travels, we see ourselves
Yeah.
in multiple places. But then culturally, there's some things, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, where how while there may be clear poverty differences in terms of third world countries, there's some richness in things that they have that our communities of African Americans are lacking as it relates to a lot of the countries we go to. You see families that celebrate together. So elderly, middle-aged, and younger groups, so multicultural celebrations, and a lot of that we try to bring back in our celebration when we have events that are multicultural, multi-generational. So that's a big deal. But other than that, the consistency of our fingerprint in all of those different countries and artists here in the United States is one of the many things that you can see how our black skin, our black bodies might have come over in the slave trade. Also, our culture came with it because you see the same Cubism style that originated in Africa in our artists, the way we use color, and then even our food. I'm Louisiana native in terms of our family. Gumbo, you taste it in those different countries. So it's been a breath of fresh air. We're able to share that with the community and share those artists, which is one of the exhibits that opens this month. Lego Treasures we'll talk about is an example of going to a country, meeting artists where they are, living artists in those different countries, and then bringing that work back has been so rewarding.
And you know, we've also been to outside of the continent. We Brazil, Colombia, Cuba, and various places around the Caribbean. And when you look at the artwork, there's sometimes you'll find similar work in the United States and similar work in those other places, the continent or any other place where the diaspora is. And these people never saw each other's work before. So you can see that in our DNA, that there are some things that extend beyond, you know, what you can learn with each other. And I also noticed that when we travel, there are different places, the different places you go, the artwork is different. It's not all the same. So we're not monolithic. We do have different experiences, different religions, different backgrounds. So like in Egypt, you might see something different than you'll see in South Africa. Or in Tanzania, you might see something different that you see in Senegal. And it's really a treasure because you are able to connect with so many people that have the same skin color, but have different experiences and different backgrounds, and of course different than what you see in America sometimes. And then, like I said, sometimes they're the same. So it's really interesting.
That's interesting. I always feel like Chicago does not get enough credit as a city that's, you know, recognized for its artists.
Exactly.
Do you kind of pick that up too, like on your travels?
Historically, Bronzeville had more firsts than Harlem. And, you know, we're sitting and standing on sacred ground right now.
Wow.
The Bronzeville Artist Loft was was the first African-American department store in its heyday. This used to be the Ben Franklin store, part of the chain.
That's amazing.
Two African-American brothers, the Jones brothers, were able to purchase this building from the Ben Franklin chain. That would have been like two of us buying a Macy's store. And this would have been the equivalent of Michigan Avenue back in the day. 247th was the place where all the legends came. So economically, that's over 80 years of entrepreneurial excellence that we're standing on. And then artistically, 81 plus years of art movement, starting with one of our art partners in the Bronzeville Art District, the Southside Community Arts Center. During the first recession, during the WPA, and we all know the Work Progress Administration from our history lessons, this community actually was visited by Eleanor Roosevelt to open one of 100 art centers, and this was part of the first stimulus when we had our first recession. And they had funding for 100 art centers, and they paid artists to paint, they paid for your art supplies, and this was to stimulate the economy. Of those 100 art centers that they opened, there's only one remaining, and it's here in this neighborhood. And that is the legacy of artist movements going back to Dr. Marcus Burroughs, founder of the Southside Community Art Center, founder of the DuSable Museum. Archibald Motley used to paint vivid, colorful scenes of that time, which was while the rest of the country was in the recession. We were exchanging the dollars because of redlining 15 times. Businesses were bustling. And it was only after the economy was so bad, they probably said, well, we need more people. So they lifted the redlining, and we thought the ice was colder, and we all left this neighborhood. So it's a great story, but it's a legacy that we should all be proud of. And to your point, the continuing work of great artists that have come through those movements, which ties to our movements of artists. So it's a proud space, but it's also a space where you feel the responsibility to achieve not for yourself, but because this is the ground we stand on. Great artistic and economically amazing entrepreneurial leaders.
And-
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Dr. Margaret Burroughs, created the
Yes.
DuSable Museum.
Yes.
So we have, as Andre mentioned, a rich history and legacy. And it's only appropriate for us and other people to carry that baton and keep moving forward with it and pass it on. Because, the artists that I've seen here, whether they're at Gallery Guichard or elsewhere, people who are coming up in the arts are doing amazing things, very creative, very innovative. And I just think that, we need to do more of what you're doing through these podcasts and of informing people of the importance of the arts in Chicago.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you
Yeah.
one more example. This Saturday will be our 4th pop-up around the country. And we're headed to Washington, D.C. for our 12th annual home show of 2 collectors, African-American
Oh, wow.
collectors, both attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 years ago, they were young attorneys who opened their home to let people see what it looked like to make that change of investing in original art. 12 years later, whenever we go
Yeah.
and we bring the work that, to your point, people sometimes take for granted what we have, we close to sell out.
Yes.
We just left Los Angeles and Oakland,
Wow.
same situation. And
New Orleans.
New Orleans, all
Wow.
these cities, when they get a chance to experience this collective, they really, it's an urgency that, sometimes when you have something great, you take it for granted.
You two have been such a staple in this community, Bronzeville. You inspire other artists. My question is, are there still programs out there available for artists? Funding.
Artist funding, how would you
DCASE, City of Chicago has every year they do a call for artists, and they have grants that allow artists to compete and get, funding to do artwork, emerging artists who have collectives. So that's one place. And then we have a nonprofit, which is called Building Community Foundation, where we donate to other nonprofits that are working with the youth around the arts and other things to help or to help youths not go toward a violent life. So, those programs also sometimes have arts that will allow the youth to do programs. And then Andre and I, we also teach classes with the CPS. We have out of school time where we work with schools to help students learn just the basics around art and get them excited around art. And then we've worked with the Cook County Juvenile Probation Office as well, helping young people to grasp into something different in life, to give them exposure that they've not seen before, help them to be a part of the arts and learn how to express themselves creatively.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost like you're planting a seed in that generation, so as they grow, it
Yes.
won't be a loss. Yeah.
We have
Go right
to.
ahead.
as she was talking, I was thinking about how over 19 years, building relationships and making inroads into spaces and places help you understand the grant writing process to actually win a grant, because after failing it so many times, you think like, it never happened.
What's the key, right?
But before that, tapping into the value of your own entrepreneurial creativity that you control, you can build your own following, then take that following and use that to approach not the traditional spaces, but maybe the corporate spaces, because corporations now see the value of the art and collector world. So a lot of what has made our journey successful is not taking the usual path, because there was a decade of trying to get grants and not understanding, but at that same time we were very successful coming from corporate arenas and different arenas where there's a need for corporations to want to enter these spaces. So that's been a very important part of our success.
Amazing.
That's wonderful.
Wow. That's a lot of information, a lot of history there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
we definitely appreciate getting your time,
Yeah.
taking out to speak with us and talk to us. And again, if we can continue dialogue about arts, just to give it exposure and just let the community, the art community know, follow your dream.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and pass it along.
And
Right.
That's how it
we're
can
just
grow.
starting to peel the first skin of
Mhm.
the onion in terms
Mhm.
of the conversations.
Yeah.
Because there's so many layers of things that we know or don't know. And too often our community, if we don't know, we just keep quiet.
Yeah.
So we don't learn.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't benefit from this enormous, and I will say enormous asset of creativity
Yeah.
that sits right here in our neighborhood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And too many of us have not been a part of this 30-year appreciation
Sure.
that had you been participating as an activist, these same artists whose works are 5, 10,000, 15,000, you could have got in at 1,000.
Mhm.
And that appreciation always remains yours and your family's. That process of artists coming out as emerging artists, becoming mid-career and masters is happening every day, every show. So we still have that opportunity. So these programs that you do
Mhm.
are enlightening our community on the resources that we should be taking advantage of. And these are ours first, because we're our own national treasures.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And so coming up, we have the trolley tour on this
Yes.
Friday. So we're looking forward to that.
Yes.
Just continued success. And hopefully there'll be, other galleries around the city from you guys. Yeah.
We have many other programs coming
Yeah.
up. and
Okay,
so
wonderful.
We have Palm Sunday every third Sunday
Okay.
between June and September. We
Okay.
also have, Palm Sunday is a music concert
Okay.
and paying homage to the Palm Tavern that used to exist adjacent to the gallery.
Okay.
It was raised in 2006, I believe it was, and it was owned by Jerry Oliver last, but first owned by Jimmy Knight in 1933.
Mhm.
So, that's going to be a music concert. People come, we can have brunch in the garden for
Wow.
a fee, and then it's complimentary this year because DCASE has sponsored it. So we are having complimentary entry into the garden. Into the alleyway. And then we also have the Artini, which is a networking event where you have collaborative between DJ Marcel, which is our house DJ, and a live instrumentalist that will play and perform, a saxophonist, a flautist, just so many different people come and play with with Marcel, and it's just amazing. People dancing. It's indoors, outdoors this summer, and it goes all the way to November. And then we also have the Mayor and First Lady event that we're going to have on July 13th, which will be a chic summer attire. We're going to have entertainment, but it's a fun, F-U-N, raiser. So we're going to have fun
Okay.
dancing as well as fundraiser where we're raising money, again, for Building Community Foundation,
Wonderful.
the nonprofit. And I have to say, Andre is the mayor of Bronzeville.
Yes,
So
he
he's
is. Absolutely.
given
Yes.
the title, but this is our way of, as Andre,
That's
giving
right.
back.
Yeah.
So we now have donated 60,000 to local nonprofits that donate and that actually help kids in Bronzeville. So this year we're just looking to build to that total and keep pushing those numbers till we can see the difference. We are still the change that we want to be, and giving starts to become contagious. You start giving, and if we all were in a space where we're all just giving, we're going to hit somebody, and everybody's going to get hit.
Absolutely.
Versus
Yeah.
looking to receive.
Yeah.
So if we're throwing out and everybody's giving, I think it's a good space. So
Yeah.
So if people want to get in touch with you or contact or be a part of what you do, how can they get in touch with you?
www.galleryguichard.com, That's our website. Just go to our website. All the information is there. You can touch information where you can go to Eventbrite, sign up for it. As we said, next Friday is the July 20, I'm sorry, this is June 21st
Yeah.
is the next trolley tour. And then every third Friday there between June and September, 6 to 9 p.m., the double-decker buses will be moving around Bronzeville with music and entertainment.
Awesome. We are so looking forward to it. And thank you again. No, go right ahead.
And I do want to point out there is something that happened during COVID that
Mm-hmm.
continued, and it was a technological breakthrough that allowed us to stay in contact with our collectors during COVID, and it's our virtual exhibition catalogs that even after COVID stopped, if you go to our website, there are 37 virtual catalogs
Wow.
that you can drop into and walk around in those exhibits like it's day one of the exhibit. So 2 years worth of archived exhibits
Oh,
that
wonderful.
if you wanted to, as they say, what do we do when we're watching cable and you're just trying to catch up? You can catch up on 2 years of exhibits.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, right. There you go. There you go. No
So thank you.
So thank you. So that's
Thank
it for
you.
this episode of Conversations Over Art. And we'll see you next time.